Hi, I'm Steve Shelburne, owner and operator of Shelburne RV here in beautiful Cleveland, Tennessee. All right, so our next video we're going to do today is brought to us by our friends over at Suburban, a division of Excel. We've got a Suburban SF35VHQ that we're going to be installing in a bumper pull trailer to replace a failing Atwood furnace. So we're going to have to do some retro fitting on this to make this work. Not something I've really seen anybody kind of doing, but we're going to do it today just to kind of show you guys what's going on. Let me turn this around. I'll show you all the parts that we've got going with this furnace install we're doing today. Okay, so we've got all of our parts laid out on the table right here, and you can see this is the brand new Suburban SF35VHQ, which means it can go vertical or horizontal the way it is right here. And typically what they do is in this kit, there's a you can kind of see the splash guard. See how it's got the splash guard on the top of the exhaust right here. If we were to go vertically, we would actually put this splash guard in like this to keep the water and doing all that. So they give you these parts so we can go either or. This one will be installed just like you see it here in the video. Now this old furnace that we're taking out does have a door access from the outside. So we did get them to send us the kit that comes obviously with the outside bezel and the door. The thing is, the hole size is a little bit different, so we will have to do some trimming on the camper to make that fit. We're going to show you how to do all that, along with possibly have to add a hose to go from the existing gas line to the new hookup on this furnace. Obviously we got to have an adapter to get that hose correct and hooked up. So that's kind of the components we got going on here. So we're going to go over here now and we're going to get the old furnace pulled out and get everything lined up, and then figure out how we're going to cut this bezel, and then we're going to do the install. So let's get started. All right, so I've got Tori with me today. He's from Shelburne RV Mobile, and we're going to get started tearing this furnace out and see what we got. Okay, so before we get going here, we're going to go ahead and get all the propane cylinders turned off, and then I'm going to go in here and bleed the propane off at the stove to make sure we've got all the air, got all the propane out of the system, and everything's good to start taking it loose. So let's do that now. All right, so now we've got all the propane burned off the system. Should not be any propane in that line now, so we're going to go out here. Let's get started. So we've got the propane burned off. Tori has got the bezel obviously off of the unit now, so we're working on getting the screws loose, and then we'll take the propane line loose. All right, so now we'll have to go inside and take all the ductwork loose so we can pull the unit out. All right, let's see what we got in here. So obviously have some ductwork that we've got to take loose at these points, and then there's a few screws that are holding that down, and then of course the wiring for the furnace is actually right there. So we're going to take that loose now. All right, got all the ductwork loose and all the screws loose, and so we're ready to pull this out now. All right, so it does have a soft line there, so we may have enough line to get to the new furnace. That may be all right. Sometimes they like to hard pipe those, but that one there's got a soft line. Okay, so next thing we've got to do is we've got to see how this new bezel is actually going to fit on that wall. And as you can see, the hole is a little bit different. We've got probably 3/4 of a gap on this side, so we're going to have to look. We're going to look at this and see where it needs to be centered up. Probably more than likely what we're going to do is we're going to split the difference on both sides and do it that way. So let's get set up and I'll show you how we do that. All right, so we got our Milwaukee M12 jigsaw. Shout out to Milwaukee. We love your 12-volt M12 tools. Tori's going to go ahead and start cutting that hole out now. So real quick, Tori, another reason for the tape is obviously we've got to run this up. The pad's going to be running up here, so we're trying to protect any of this paint behind here so we don't scratch it.
Got to be careful on the top. There's a gas line right here.
Okay. And let's go ahead and run another piece of tape across the top of that, Tori, just so we've got plenty of protection for that white file on right there, please, sir. All right, so we're going to go ahead and dry fit that bezel in there and see if that's the right dimensions. It should be good.
I've got a little piece in there.
We're going to see what's going on here. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, so next step is we're going to go in here and vacuum all this out. We're going to get our tape removed. We're actually going to take and get us some butyl tape to put around the edge of that, and then we're going to go ahead and get this secured. So as most of you service people know, now that we're in here doing some service on this furnace, this is literally probably the first time this has ever been vacuumed out, even since they built the unit, because we get into these a ton and they're just dirty, like they don't even vacuum them out after they build them. So now we're going to butyl tape the bezel and go ahead and get it installed. All right, so now we'll go ahead and bring the furnace over and we're gonna dry fit the furnace in the hole to make sure everything's right. Okay, so now that we got everything kind of dry fitted, we're gonna go ahead and pull it back out and go ahead and take all of our knockouts out, because you can see the old furnace, we got a couple knockouts right there that we need to do. So Tori, now that he knows everything's good, the fit's good, we're gonna go ahead and bring it back out and get all of our knockouts taken out. Okay, so now that we've got both the furnaces out, we're gonna go ahead and get all the ductwork knockouts done. Now you can see there is a little bit difference in the top right here, but now we've got plenty of room on the side. So we're actually just gonna move this one, because you've got two over here and you had one over here. We're just gonna go ahead and move all these to the side. So this one will change here. So we're just gonna go ahead and knock these two out and go ahead and take these two knockouts out, and then we're gonna go ahead and reinstall that. All right, so one other difference I wanted to show you was originally the Atwood attached here. The Suburban's gonna attach here, okay? So we got the look in here, and the propane line, obviously, over here on this side. So what I did was I rerouted the line, because we have a long enough line, rubber line OEM from the factory, that now we're gonna be able to have our hookup correct right there. So we had long enough propane line to do that. So now, Tori's gonna go ahead and install the new furnace into the coach. All right, so the old Atwood actually had enough room to screw the holes down right there. This is off a little bit, so we're actually going to pull the rear cover on the back of the furnace and pull it off and put the screws in on the back to secure the furnace in place. So we're going to go inside and do that now. You can see the platform actually fit really nicely in there, so we're just going to go ahead and pull that cover off, and then we'll put 2 screws down there to hold that in place. All right, so now we'll go ahead and hook our ductwork up. We'll get our gas line connected, and we'll get the 120 or the 12 volt connected first. Okay, so now that we've got the gas attached and connected, we're going to connect the 12 volts. We are going to pressure test for leaks on the propane here in just a second, but Tori's going to go ahead and get the cover put back on, and we're going to go ahead and get all the ductwork. Okay, so Tori's finishing up the 12 volt wiring on this unit. Again, always refer back to the Suburban Excel wiring diagram for this. Fortunately for us, this has got just the regular 3-button Dometic thermostat. So just 2 blue wires, a 12 volt positive and a 12 volt negative. So we've got all that. He's finishing up termination on that. And then before we put the outside cover on, we're going to go ahead and start this up, get the propane going to it, and then we're going to check for propane leaks. And then we'll button everything up and then do a final run. Okay, so Tori's going to go ahead and turn the propane on now. Then I'm going to come in here and get all the air work through on the stove. So go ahead and turn that propane on for me, Tori. Okay, LP's on. I'm going to go ahead and, okay, that should have all the air pretty much worked out of the line. So now we're going to go out here that we have pressure on the line and everything should have propane in it. Tori's going to go ahead and spray test with his Sherlock leak detector. Spray. Okay. So if it's got a problem or leaking, it's going to be leaking like crazy because that stuff will show up. Bubbles be blowing. It'll be doing some awesome stuff with bubbles. So not seeing anything that's jumping out at us. Could possibly have some air still in the line. The propane may not have got all the way up there. So we're going to go ahead and cycle the furnace now, and he's going to continue to watch that, and then we're going to check it. So let's go ahead and turn the furnace on now and see what we got. So going through our setting here, furnace mode, we're gonna have to go ahead and turn that up probably to 80 or 90 for testing purposes, all the way up. Okay, furnace has come on, so it's going through its sail switch, high temp sensor, clearing the system. Here in a second it's going to ignite, and then there it goes. Furnace is running now, so we've got a good amount of gas going through here. So now we're going to just be double checking that we don't have any bubbles from any propane leaks. Don't see nothing going on there. So we're going to let this run just a minute, and then we're going to go ahead, seal this, and then go ahead and put all the covers on. Okay, so you can see we've got to do a figure 8 around the exhaust vent, and then we'll push all that on, and then we got to seal across the top, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Okay, and then whatever extra comes out of here, we're going to clean that up, but we do have to put a nice bead across the top of that. Not a big bead, just a good steady bead across the top of that. Now, be careful when you do that right there, because as you can see, I've already cut myself right there. So be careful on this edge right here when you're cleaning across that. And that's all you need. And he's gonna clean up the edges, and then we're gonna go inside and button up the rest. Okay, so I got Tori now finishing up the internal bezels on the floor there. We're getting all that finished up. You saw us go through and recheck the propane to make sure everything was sealed. We didn't have any leaks. Obviously, we went by the manual that Airxcel Suburban supplied in the kit. Used the correct butt splices for the wiring. And so now that we've got that all hooked up and we've got everything sealed on the outside, this should be good to go install. All right, well, that finishes up our install of the. We're taking out a Atwood AFM and replacing it with a Suburban SF35VHQ. Tori was my assistant today. He's a service guy over here at Shelburne Mobile RV. We obviously want to say thank you again to our sponsor, Suburban, a division of Airxcel. I think this was a good product to kind of show everybody to do, and we've been doing this a while, and so probably some of the challenges, and Tori would agree with me, that we have is a lot of the old Atwood 8500 furnaces and some of the older coaches, and the replacement for those are just not the quality that we like. Obviously, going with the Suburban product, we feel like we give the customer a great product that we don't have any trouble with, and once we put it in, it pretty much, we don't see that customer again because of furnace problems. So that's kind of the challenge we got, but that's been kind of some of the issues with trying to retrofit the Suburban into the existing hull of the Atwood. And I think that's this is obviously the best way we found to do it, because again, we get a great product with the Suburban. So thanks for watching. Please go on and subscribe and like to our channel. If you have any questions, please reach out to us on there, and thanks for watching.